What's up, Internet Land, and welcome to another glorious episode of the Petty Cash Podcast, where, as we all know, this podcast represents the last of the Petty Cash. I am your host, Charles, and I am joined by my co-host, Vinny.
Hey, howdy, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Petty Cash Podcast. Thank you, Charles, for giving me that introduction. I'm also joined by our fellow hosts, Danny and Joe. Danny, why don't you take the floor?
This is Danny here. I'm doing pretty good, gentlemen. It's really great to be back in the amazing land of petty cash and the slums of the internet. Joe?
Hey, everyone. This is Joe. I just woke up, so let's get this shit started.
A true introduction to the Petty Cash Podcast.
Alrighty, well, before we kick off the topic of this episode, just want to see how are you all doing, gentlemen?
Well, Joe's sleeping over there. Okay. So far, I'm actually doing pretty good. So as far as updates, this week I finally got paid, so I got to go to the Lego store and buy some Lego minifigures based on the blind bags of the Muppets. And I was able to pick out Kermit the Frog and Gonzo. And also involving with cosplay production, I got my brand new Buzz Lightyear patches for my uniform. I am just now waiting on the boots from a friend of mine in California. He's going to be staining the ones that he has for me and then ship them out. And then in return, I'm going to ship him some dog tags for Buzz Lightyear that I'm having commissioned from a friend of ours here in Arizona. And other than that, so far everything's been pretty good.
Today, actually woke up, recorded a buddy.
Recorded a buddy?
Try that again.
Just keep it in, it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
Today, I woke up early, recorded a video with my buddy Mark over on Nerd Cage Live, so go check those guys out. They are absolutely awesome. Great content over there. We discussed the final 2 episodes of Moon Knight, which that episode 5 was fantastic. It's my personal favorite of the series. After that, I went and got a little trim, little haircut. And then the other updates for me, just yesterday, for those that know me personally, you know that I collect Funkos. And yesterday, I finally acquired the final Funko Pop that is in the line of Avatar: The Last Airbender. So I now own the entire line of Avatar Funko Pops. I can't tell if that was sarcastic.
That was intentional. Take a guess. You be the judge.
Let's see. Woke up, had a nice cup of coffee. Oh my god, that's the thing that really kept me up. Had some training this morning with Bullentawaka Screamo, which was very, very fun. Last night, Danny, Charles, and we went to Majestic Phoenix, and we went to the Cinematary, hosted by Aaron Hudson, and basically we watched Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. So that was very, very exciting, especially, whenever the day lands on Friday the 13th, I think it's just required, if you have to, watch something that's related to the Friday the 13th franchise with Jason Voorhees. It was a big time, especially for horror. Evil Dead the game just came out. Danny just gave us a first taste of it on the PS5, which was truly freaking amazing. So Charles and I are still waiting for that collector's edition of ours. Did yours come through
Yeah.
It did? Okay, mine didn't yet. Not yet, but soon. All right, is yours downloading?
No, I just got it.
You just got it? I'll put it on the couch. All right, Charles, take it away. Alrighty, so yeah, in the vein of horror movies and horror movie games, my copy of Evil Dead the game literally showed up. I was stepping out the door and I saw the delivery van roll away, and I looked at my notifications and it said, "Oh, it's been delivered," and I'm like, okay, well, that was perfect timing. So I ran down to the box, pulled it out. It's a massive, heavy box. And I didn't even have time to open it because I was like,
gotta get going. And so I ran back, put it on the couch next to my cat, who looked at me very, angrily, like, why are you disturbing me? And then came down here for the podcast, and then had a wonderful little interruption with well, not really. It was more like a detour, I guess, if you will, where I ran into this funeral procession, and that was an interesting thing. So, first and foremost, I don't know who it was, but condolences to that family and their friends. But the escorts for this, I'm not sure who they got, but I think they kind of need to work on coordinating a little bit better, because it was... nobody knew where they were supposed to be going, and I felt really bad for not only the traffic but also the people that were being escorted, because there was so much confusion. But that would be a long, drawn-out topic, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. So yeah, that was my day, if you will. I don't even know if I'm assuming they paid these people, but I'm like, you guys need to practice your stuff a little bit more. But anyway, so with that out of the way, let's move on to our topic. And our topic is an interesting one today. It is phobias and our experiences with them. Alrighty, so I think we've got our phobias lined up here. You know what? Let's start with Joe.
Let's see. Well, looking at this list here, oh god, let's see. The one that usually came up to me was catagelophobia.
What?
That's basically the fear of being ridiculed.
Oh, yeah. I think we could all probably...
We can all agree to that. When it comes and usually I'm an outgoing person, but usually when that moment when it's time to present itself, or, but there's always like, oh, fuck, what if that hesitation and all that behind me. Look, we're afraid of fucking near-death experiences, all that other shit. Like, we get frozen in that fucking locked-in moment. Everyone is. But, we're looking at this list. This is from hotline.com. There's so fucking many. Like, this one kind of makes me laugh. Electorophobia, a fear of chickens. You know what's funny? Like, I was looking at that, and I find that kind of odd, because a couple days ago, this video was actually recommended to me on YouTube, so I clicked on it. And it was basically how to hold like a fucking rooster or a chicken down and all that. Because there's like all these people being pissed scared of chickens. And I just remembered, like, as a kid, like, oh, it's a fucking bird, chasing me and everything. But like, all you have to do is like assert your dominance on the thing. So basically what you have to do is just basically hold out your hands. Because the only thing it could do is just flap its wings and start like, try to peck and all that. So how you subdue chicken or rooster and everything is that you just take both your fucking hands and just keep that thing on the ground and all that, and just hold it there. And then as soon as you let it go and all that, like, just kind of like, I'm fucking keeping you there, it actually like, it's like, oh shit, okay, not to fuck with this human. That's actually, yeah.
Dominance, okay.
Yeah. So I actually did that, like, but it was like years ago, back in my like teens and all. So I don't know. Danny, you got any other phobias?
Yes. I would say for me, my main phobia is ophidiophobia, and that is the fear of snakes, just like good old Indiana Jones. Oh boy. And we live in the state of Arizona, where we are home to one of the most venomous snakes in the country, the western diamondback rattlesnake.
Have you ever actually encountered one?
Thankfully, not in the wild. But, like, because, like, growing up in the desert, growing up, like, going to school and, like, having those, like events, like, from the Phoenix Herpetology Center every once in a while, I'll run across, like, a snake behind, like, a fish tank or in a glass cage. I remember specifically, I think it was in 10th grade biology class, and our teacher to like right by the door. There's this little like window where there's these 2 cages. I forget what was in the second cage. I think it might have been a lizard or something else. But the cage that's right next to the window is a little corn snake. And now, granted, I am more okay with like corn snakes, king snakes, the garter snakes, the snakes that are a little more docile and that can't kill you. So like watching it like slither around every once in a while, but like every time I just look to my left, I'm like.
Now, just to add, have you actually ever held a snake? Mm-hmm. Yeah?
I don't like it, man. I don't like it. My sister describes it perfectly because it's like having a tire in your hand, especially if you're holding like a boa constrictor. Yeah, let me try and explain further. Okay. So, like her specific example, she was able to hold a boa constrictor or a reticulated python by the name of Butters. And she had it draped around her hands and she touched it as it like slithered around. She said it felt like putting a tire on her shoulders. Now, basically, snakes are just a giant muscle, especially constrictors, being that's what they do. They constrict.
When I was growing up and we had a 5-acre property, a farm, we had chickens and 1 rooster. Our chickens were fine. The rooster was a dick. Like, the rooster was, oh my God, killed our chickens, would chase us around, pecked at our cat's face to the point where she ended up in pre-labor, and even got my neighbor's foot by the time he got our neighbor's foot, he was like, I'm getting my fucking shotgun, and we're like, go for it. Kill that little son of a bitch.
All right, well, speaking on the topic of snakes, I remember when I was like around 12 or 13 or something like that. My parents used to own horses when I was little, and so they had a barn. And in this one particular area, I was in Texas actually. This white, it was like a white dove, showed up and just kind of started just hanging around the barn, and it was interesting. So what we ended up doing was we got a cage for it and hung it up from the rafters and just kind of like let it, chill there and whatever. And then one day we saw it like acting really weird, like it was flying around the barn and everything like that, would fly in, fly back out. And we went to go check and like, well, what's going on? And we saw a snake. And it was, I can't remember what it was because it was so long ago, but it was a sizable snake, and it was trying to climb up the walls. Sorry, I'm freaking out, Danny here, but it was trying to climb up the walls to get to the dove's nest because it actually had eggs and babies, and it was trying to get up there. And so my dad and we ended up corralling it and catching it. And I think we were able to identify it as it was like non-poisonous or something like that. And so we ended up taking it like way down to, there was like this kind of foresty area, and we released it there. Yeah. And so, on the topic of snakes.
Well, I know this will probably freak out Danny because my dad, when he was doing construction work, he's in the middle of doing concrete work in the hot blazing sun of Arizona. And sure as shit, as he's digging, he stops dead center because he had a fear of snakes too. Next to his boot, rattling, was a rattlesnake. Like, it was right next to him. He didn't see this fucker, but as soon as he heard it, he turned slowly, had his shovel hand, was like, ah! And shanked the snake. Like, he killed the fucker, cut it in half, and then took the rattlesnake's rattle as a trophy. And I love snakes. Like, I absolutely love snakes. Like, my teacher.
I love it when they're dead. Good snake is a dead.
But like my teacher had like a boa constrictor in his class, and he would let me pull it out of the cage. I got to just play with the snake. It would wrap around my neck, it would wrap around my arm. I pet it. Like I love snakes. They're really cool creatures.
This isn't my story. This is my dad's story. But he's told to me so many times because I find it so fascinating. He used to volunteer at this camp back in, I want to say, the 70s, and I want to say this is up in like northern Arizona, like the forest areas. But he would volunteer at this camp, and he was taking these kids out for a hike one day, and like all of a sudden in the middle of the trail you just see a rattlesnake just slithering across the trail. Now of course they don't want to bring the kids close to that thing, so they like stop everybody, they make sure they stay back. I forget who does it, but I'm pretty sure my dad was in on this. They were throwing rocks at the snake to get it move along. Somebody threw a rock at it. It hit it like dead center on the body, and it immediately coiled up and in that S position to strike.
It was in attack mode.
Exactly. So I don't have the best details on this because it's not my story. But my dad would say like somebody went and got the cook of the camp. And there was these giant wooden poles that would like bask out in the sun behind like where the kitchen area was. Mm-hmm. So they got one of those big poles and they try to pin the snake down so they could get rid of it. And what's funny is when they were trying to pin it down because it was basking in the sun, it was warm, so the rattlesnake could sense the heat off that thing. So it was striking at the pole because it could sense the heat signature off it. Yeah. So they kill the snake. They cut the head off. I think at one point, I think my dad had it. I forget if he has it still or not. But he is like, yeah, I tried snake meat. It's not bad. But it's like, I hate snakes. I hate snakes.
Unless you like snake burgers.
So you're not like afraid of like snakes on the screen or anything, just like snakes, like.
Yes and no. Like for example. I love Snakes on a Plane. That movie is awesome.
Okay,
I love that movie.
Yeah, because I just want to add, like, my freaking grandma, just the sight of snakes would just scares the shit out of her.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I would just freeze in fear, or it would run in the opposite direction. Like, guys, you're on your own.
Well, now I know what to throw at you.
No! Oh, gosh.
We're going to get you, Danny.
Oh, no.
We're going to get you.
Man, this is the last episode of the Petty Cash Podcast.
And there's Danny around at the door. I'm out.
Okay, so how about you, Vinny?
Oh boy.
Phobia.
No! I guess, well, I was reading this list that we all have. By the way, anybody who's paying attention, we actually have the same list. It's from healthline.com.
I'll be sure to put the link in the description so you guys can check out all these phobias for yourself.
And I don't think a lot of the phobias are listed here. Like there's a lot of weird ones. Like there's one that's called, where is it?
Arithmophobia, a fear of numbers.
There's that, yeah. There's Samhain phobia, which is the fear of Halloween.
I believe the correct pronunciation of that is Samhain, not Samhain.
Yeah.
It's spelled Sam and then Hain.
No.
Yes, yeah, that's how it's spelled, but how it's pronounced is Samhain.
Samhain, yeah. Samhain. Sam Hain is from Ghostbusters, real Ghostbusters.
Well, that's why I put it as Sam Hain. I was like, all right, well,
That's fine, that's fine.
I think
Keep
that's
going.
probably where they got the name for it. Was
Yeah.
from they was like, oh hey, look at this, the fear of Halloween. Cut the first part off. Sam Hain.
yeah.
probably where
Actually,
they
you know
got
what? Yeah, you might be onto something. They might have gotten the name from that.
Probably.
But I guess my fear, there's a lot in here that I relate to, like my fear of heights and among other things. But I think my one fear actually is rejection, because so let me elaborate on my side of the story.
What is the fear's name?
It's actually not even listed. I just have a fear of rejection.
Oh, okay.
No, anthropophobia.
Anthropophobia? Okay.
Anthropophobia, yeah.
So the reason why I guess I have this phobia, it's because throughout the years, like whether it was through friendships or me being interested in somebody that I found attractive or wanted to be in a relationship with, more importantly, a girl. But in all seriousness, though, I think we all have that same simulation of the fear, is just rejection of just being who we are. Because like I've constantly gotten rejected. I've like for relationships, I've been friend zoned all the time. With jobs, I'm always told I'm not good enough. Between friends, I'm always told I could be better this way or that way, or I could be physically more fit. I could be this or that. Basically, it just feels like, even though there's a lot of good encouragement of criticism in between that, it's become this development where I've realized through last year, I kind of just sat back and just kind of observed my life and realized I have a really huge phobia of rejection, because I feel like I'm never good enough, just whether it's me being who I am or being criteria for a job position, because I struggle with that so often. It's just become this burden of reality.
Yeah, I could say I have. It's not my biggest phobia, but I do have that to an extent, because I know that I remember like many years back, like when I first started my job, there was this woman. She was a beautiful woman, but I'm not going to say her name. But she was at my workplace, and that was kind of the first thing that like made me a little bit hesitant, because it's like, don't date in the workplace. But she obviously had a crush on me, and we did kind of go out a little bit, but I ended up talking myself out of pursuing any sort of relationship with her, because I was like, I'm not, good enough for her. I'm a nerdy dork, and she's a fairly athletic, woman who loves sports and dancing and music. And I'm like, I prefer, video games and, and movies and, going to the mall. Yeah. Things like that. And so I ended up talking myself, out of it. And I think it kind of bummed her out a little bit. And because I just kind of stepped back from it. I didn't really, reciprocate any of it. And, she went into a different job, and she tried one more time, like we tried on a date, but I was like, I knew that, I was telling myself that. I was like, I'm not the one for her, even though she really liked me. And it's funny because she ended up marrying a dude that was kind of had similar looks to me, so I was like, wow, okay, she definitely had like a type. And also, it was interesting too. It was actually last night I had a very vivid dream. Like it's probably a topic for another thing, but I had a super vivid dream where it was, if you're talking about the multiverse of madness, I was dreaming about an alternate, universe version of Charles and this girl. And in my dream, she actually wasn't married. And we met somewhere at like, I think it was like Hawaii or something like that. And we were like up on the mountains, and they had like this village up on the mountains. And she actually like came, forward to me and was like, why didn't you? And I said, well, because I'm this, and this. And like, we both started like crying in the dream. And, we're just like talking and everything and like getting all of that out. And then I woke up, and it was this morning. I woke up and I was like, damn it. Like one of those vivid dreams, you're just like, arfed.
To relate to that, I actually had a very similar dream. Because this dream, I shit you not, I felt every moment of it. I'm getting a little bit personal here with you guys. So in this dream, I was in bed with someone I wanted to be in a relationship with. And I could feel every moment with, like, we weren't having sex. We were just laying there. And
well, that's when the dream just goes down.
because the way the dream played out, it already had partake. It was like I was tapping into another version of myself, because I felt everything. And by the time we got to the sentimental kiss, I was woken up. I was jolted out of my sleep at 3 a.m. and I was just like, son of a bitch. Like it was just terrible.
I don't know. I don't usually dream of regret or anything like that. But Charles, was she ugly? No. She was very attractive.
You clearly said she was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But like, it just at the moment, like, nah. Just
What, talk about in real life or in the dream?
you do both.
So no, she was very attractive, and actually, she was from the Philippines. So
And you said no, God.
I know. But like, we didn't share any mutual interests, and what are you looking at me for, Vinny?
Because relationships, whether they're mutual or not, can still work.
Well,
But
the thing is that we shared no mutual interests. Like I said, she was like kind of athletic. I mean, maybe we could she dancing. Like, she loved dancing. She literally had an entire floor of her house dedicated to dancing. Like, she had a dance studio. Like,
That's awesome.
Like what?
Is there a pole?
No, there was no pole. No, it was like salsa, flamingo, and things like that. But like, she had a full-on dance studio. Like, she would like teach kids, and things like that, and adults too. And she played. I think she played the piano, and I think it was violin. And all those things like that. And she was like, big into sports. She loved sports. So, football, basketball, things like that. She loved those. And, like I'd be like, oh, hey, talk about video games. She had no idea. She was like, I remember playing like the Nintendo with my brother a little bit when I was a kid.
Not just the defender or anything else. I don't know this bitch, but also she probably saw the same with you, with like sports, and we're all that way. So, so just to conclude, it's whoosh. So, Danny, is there any other fear of rejection from?
I mean, I feel like that's a quite common thing. Is just like the fear of rejection or like the fear of ridicule. I tried to look that up really quick, like if there was like a thing on here for like the fear of rejection. Like, but the closest thing it looks like on here is the fear of ridicule or the fear of imperfection. Look, the fear of imperfection is called atelophobia.
It's right here.
Yeah, anthropophobia. Yeah, is the fear, that kind of thing. But I feel like that can be a very like common thing, or like even like the fear of failure, which would be atechiphobia, or something like however that is properly pronounced. Atechiphobia. Thank you. But I feel like that like most everybody has that kind of thing, like the fear of rejection, failure, or like am I not good enough? I feel like a lot of people like I'm no stranger to that kind of like feeling, because working in like my field, like with property management, I'm always like, okay, I feel like I'm doing this right, like I'm just an assistant, but like, okay, if I always feel like if I make a mistake, I'm gonna be fired on the spot, just because like, I sent the wrong email, or I sent this out a day late, something like that. I'm always afraid like the littlest mistake that I make is gonna end up in my termination. It's I don't know. It's just like it's slightly irrational in my kind of case, but at the same time, it's just like it almost contributes to a feeling of anxiety, if you will.
Yeah, and usually those feelings, I mean, I predate all the way back to like junior high or high school and all that. There's always that one person you want to get with, and it was just like, oh shit, like, maybe they're the popular one, or maybe like their social circle won't like me. Thankfully with friends and everything, remember, if they're not going to give you the time of day, it's not even fucking worth it. Mm-hmm. So there's no point in trying to. And besides, that's all in the past. The only thing that I will say is my kind of overcoming of rejection or anything like that was, it didn't work out. I'm still alive tomorrow.
Fair point.
And the journey in my story isn't fucking over by any means. And your guys' story isn't over yet. To anybody out there listening, your story isn't over. Rejection and everything, it's all a part of life. We all learn from mistakes and everything. But what we do day after day is that we get better from it. So, is there any other...
Well, I do want to add to it, like, you are 100% correct. You are all correct on the topic. And, the one thing I want to point out to all of our listeners, this is, as everyone's saying here, it is a common denominator that we all have. And there is, we all do struggle with getting past that. So if you're out there and you're listening to this, just know you're not alone in the subject. And if you are looking for help, by all means, there's therapists, there's friends to talk to, and make sure you're talking to the right ones, not the ones who are going to sit there and say they're for you, but then won't be there for you. Because I've had those moments where it includes to that. But just know, like, take time for yourself, reflect, self-heal, and just spiritually kind of like find your inner peace through that.
Wow, that was incredibly well said.
Thank you.
Okay, and now here comes along my fear, and it's it's an interesting one. So I never used to have this up until it occurred around the time when I was in a car accident. And I don't know if it was a biological something that just happened, like inner ear or whatever, something happened, but I never used to have it up until around that time. And I didn't even know I really had it until, later down the road, like after everything had been, all said and done. And then I'm like, wait, I now have this fear, which is, and I apologize, I might butcher this, tachophobia, Tacho phobia, the irrational fear of speed. Now, to be specific for me, my fear is speed when I'm a passenger. If I'm like, say, if I'm in a car and I'm driving, or I'm in control of whatever, I'm usually don't have that fear. Like I there's no problem at all. But when I'm the passenger in a car, and I can have moments where all of a sudden my body will just be like, oh God, you're moving. What the heck's going on? Alert, yes, danger, Will Robinson. And and it'll just be, it'll like, my body will just go into pure, just like turtle mode. Like I'll feel all the nerves in my body literally just seize and pull up and barricade, brace for impact. And I will have to tell myself, like my mind is saying, I know I'm okay, but the rest of my body is like, you are not, you are in trouble. You should be bracing. And I'm like, and I literally have to try and will my body to just relax, because I think, Joe, you may have seen me do it from time to time, where I'll kind of pull back and lean down into the chair sometimes or whatever. And I know I've done this at other instances too. Like, I know one of our other friends, when she took me out to the dunes, and I was, in the sand rail, and we roared off across the desert, and I'm just like, I buried myself in that freaking seat, and she's like telling me, it's all right, and I'm telling my mind, I'm saying, it's all right, but my body is just like, nope. And I've gotten better with it, but I still have moments where it'll creep up, and yeah, so I'm gonna go further into it, but what you got, Vinny?
No, I was gonna say, so in other words, you can't handle Disneyland rides, can you?
Some of them I cannot. No, okay. Like the what is it? The one that was the Tower of Terror that became Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, no, because we went with a couple of friends of ours, Joe, and after the ride was over, I was like, imagine pressed down into the seat.
I hate to be this guy, Charles. I hate to be this guy. There is a pic of it.
You took a picture? Oh, are you talking about the?
No,
okay. Yes. There is a ride picture.
I mean, it's his choice if he wants it shown to the world. I don't fucking care as long as I'm not caught naked. But
yeah. There's me. Yeah. You can just see head down. Yeah.
If you guys remember those old Disney animated movies with like the humanoid animals, he looks like the freaking turtle.
But hold on, just to add on any of those things, dude, the one thing you need to definitely work on: don't hold on to anything, because it will actually hurt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because for that elevator thing going up and down, your freaking shoulders are just gonna, it's like the impact and everything's just gonna thrust, and it's not gonna look pretty.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's extremely important, because I learned about this. Like, if you're gonna go like free falling or tumbling, never lock up your body, because you will hurt yourself. You want to be as loose as possible, so the impact is kind of like boom, 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 just very lightweight, not like God.
Now, loosely, I mean, no, don't unbuckle yourself. Like,
holy cow! I'm on the ceiling. You guys will just see me to infinity. Hit me up!
I don't think I've ever experienced something like that, because I'm a big fan of roller coasters. I ride all the rides at Disney. I've never been to Six Flags, but
to be fair, I haven't either.
Okay. So
oh my God, we all gotta go. Sorry, dude. But water rides, though, is that a problem still, or?
Well, it kind of depends. Well,
Like Splash
I remember from Splash Mountain, yeah.
oh, okay. Well, all right. The impacts of it aren't so bad. It's more or less like the free fall. So, like, for instance, the Pirates of the Caribbean, where there's that initial drop?
Yeah.
That free fall drop, that was kind of hard on me. The impact with the water, that was fine. Like, actually, I kind of prefer that bottoming out sensation. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but like when you like hit the bottom of like a roller coaster, or like if you're in a car or whatever, and the momentum pulls you down into the seat, I'm actually super cool with that. My body likes that, and that helps me relax a little bit. So it's kind of odd how that works. But if it's lifting up, the alarm bells are start going off.
Big Thunder?
Oh, is that?
Big Thunder Mountain.
Okay, yeah, no.
Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. If we go to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, we are flying the Millennium Falcon, whether you like it or not.
Oh no, I think I'd be okay with that. Like,
It's a simulator ride.
it's a simulator.
But you're still not in control. You're like flying around.
Here's the thing, because I wondered about that. With that one, you can actually kind of hold on, or you're doing something. You know what I'm saying? So I think I would be okay with that. Like, I noticed that, like, for instance, there was that. What was that ride? Or it wasn't a ride. It was an arcade machine where you were like a TIE fighter or.
Oh yeah.
That
was
a fun one.
Yeah. Like if you're moving and you like have the joystick or whatever, or you're holding onto something, I usually can be okay with that. So like for instance, the Indiana Jones ride. I was initially freaked out about it, but because I was able to hold on, I kind of felt like I was driving it, and it settled my whatever it is in my head or body that does that. It settled it, and I had a blast. I loved that one. That is one of my.
You're on your own.
I'm just gonna say, like, while Charles is describing all this stuff, like me and Vinny, we're just giggling over, like, oh, we love Disney.
And none of you three have ever been to Six Flags. So, okay, a little backstory. And I'm going to rub it in because, quite frankly, Six Flags, I think, just has the most daring roller coasters out there. So, I went with a couple friends. We went to Six Flags. Immediately, the ride that was going to be, backed up the most was Goliath. We planned it as soon as you make a sharp right as soon as you enter the facility. It is the tallest ride. Well, not sure about it right now, but back then it was like the tallest ride, and we got front row.
Oh no!
And holy crap, I could just remember my beginnings of roller coasters. I was actually pissed scared because I was a freaking kid, back in, LA. But I remember being with my family and then let's go to Space Mountain. Space Mountain, I commend you for this at Tomorrowland, Disneyland. That was my cure. It was just just go. My head plops off like Dennis Hopper in Speed. It was a fun life. So, of all the rides, you guys definitely got to check it out. Some of them, I can't believe actually my dad, he actually confessed there was actually a ride he was pissed scared of. And it was actually during Six Flags. He was actually scared of Superman the Ride. So the Superman the Ride is actually based on the Christopher Reeve part where the criminal, he's kind of suction cupping up a building, and then he sees Superman. Superman's just standing fucking Spider-Man, just looking down. Something wrong with the elevator, pal? And so the ride, it goes up to, it's like a J almost, J-L, whatever you look at it, and you're just shooting up, and then all you see is the Superman statue just looking at you, and then whoa, you fly, you fly right back, and it's just holy crap.
No.
My dad can't take that because usually you fly airplanes, it's just there's turbulence, but you just go, you're going forward. He's not used to light rails going back. So if you ever see some people or anytime you're in a light rail, wherever the direction's going, I'm kind of like that too, because it's that's a fucking, it hurts your neck and all that. So I gotta say, with all the other rides at Six Flags, Riddler's Revenge was the one where you're standing up. That is probably the best roller coaster ride I've ever been, and it was crazy. I remember we kind of snuck into the VIP line, and we just acted like dumb tourists, we were oh, we don't know or anything. And so we got on, and it was weird because you're literally standing up. You have no seatbelt, but that's the only thing. As soon as you go up those loops and everything, it's holy crap, your fear of Hans Gruber fall off ah! Nope. And no, you have to experience it. What is it? Batman the Ride, those are great ones. The one that probably is gonna shatter basically everything up your ass going up going up to your head is, I would say like the ride is kind of like Spaceballs is the Lex Luthor ride, and it's like the tallest like one, like you're all together and it just drops all of you and you're like, oh.
This is bringing out my phobia of roller coasters again.
Yes, that's how. And so another one too, a good cure I would say, and it's a small ride, is Montezuma's Revenge at Knott's Berry Farm. That's a good ride, and that's a good ride. Yeah, those are good ones, and we'll definitely get on the topic with haunted houses, all that other stuff later on. But definitely with roller coasters, I just love the thrill of it, and that's why I'm just like, you know what, you only have YOLO, you only live once, so it's just like enjoy it. So your body will tell you when it's like, okay.
I think for me, another like thinking on that, like you were saying, like, oh, how your dad doesn't like the the flying and then like the moving backwards. I remember like within the last, I want to say 2 years, no, it was a year and a half, I've taken 2 or 3 flights, 2 places and back to Phoenix. The first one was July of last year when Disneyland finally opened back up after the closure. And I had to fly in and fly out for work. So fly in, no problem. It was cool. Like this is like the second or third ever flight I've ever taken. It's really cool, really fast, really simple 40-minute flight to Orange County. Awesome. The flight home. So for some reason, I didn't check the weather before going on the flight home. There was a thunderstorm over Phoenix that night. So. Like, we're like, oh, ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing some weather-related turbulence. We may have to struggle with the airport for a little bit, but we should be landing shortly. So hearing that, I'm like, oh, great, I'm going to die on this airplane tonight.
Since, earlier ago we were talking about alternate versions, my Megatron ass is like, fall!
So, like, we finally, like get below the clouds and just feeling that plane shake. I'm like, I'm going to die on this plane. We finally get below the cloud level. We see, we see the city lines. Like, okay, this is getting better. No. I see lightning hit the ground. I'm like, please don't hit us. Please don't hit the plane. Please don't hit the plane.
I could just imagine. I just had like a little mental image. There's Charles, Vinny, and we just see the plane getting struck by lightning, and the thing you just for all you movie people out there, you just see these little flags just fall and be like, oh my god, Danny, he just went back in time. And then the Western Union guy shows up.
I got something for you. A letter.
A letter for me? That's impossible. Who sent it?
And then finally, like we're slowly starting to land, but the plane is like kind of shaking left and right. I'm like, I am gonna die in this airplane. And we finally land fine. That was the July trip. Now, me and my dad went to Salt Lake Fanex in Utah last September. And again, the flight there was completely fine. It's so cool, like, rising above the cloud and seeing, like, in Arizona especially, you can kind of see a little bit of the air pollution. You can see, like, a little bit of a brown, like, layer over the sky. Landing in Utah, there's no brown layer. It's, like, clean and beautiful.
Way to paint Arizona.
We're not great, man.
Neither is California.
I didn't talk about California. I'm talking about Utah.
Whatever.
Same thing.
So we get in Utah and it's beautiful. It's like high 70s, low 80s, and it's like a slight wind chill. It's a beautiful like time of day season, like in September for Utah. Go to the convention, have a lot of fun, come home. Now the landing, that was fine. Like a little rough, but definitely better than the July trip. Kid you not. It took an hour to get off the stupid plane. Like we must have had like a family of actual turtles just crawling their way to the off ramp so that we could finally get off the plane.
Well, that's just very elaborate. But I would add to Joe's story there. Like when I was in like junior high and we were going to Disneyland for like a trip, I was scared shitless of half the roller coasters in Disneyland because just recently within that time frame, there was the incident where Big Thunder Mountain flew off the rails and a guy in the front car died. I got on Big Thunder in the exact same spot, so you can imagine my fear was my mind losing my shit here. And you know, I didn't want to get on this ride, but everybody was convincing me. Even the Disney employees wouldn't even accommodate me. They're like, just get on the ride. And I was just like, So I'm just imagine younger me gripping the freaking rails with my arms like deadlock. I was legit fearing that I was gonna fly out of this damn thing because the fear of a roller coaster going wrong is like the worst fear we all have. It's like we just want to have fun and enjoy it, but God forbid it happens at the Magic Kingdom, and it just happens to be on like one of my favorite vehicles, which is a train. Like Big Thunder is like one of my favorite rides now. After experiencing it, I cannot for the life of me go to Disneyland and not get up Big Thunder first, because that was my
It's a must.
Yeah, it was my one ride where I got to get over that little bit of a phobia.
Cool. Well, back onto the topic, continuing the discussion of Disneyland and all that. Soarin', that one where you, So when it was on that same trip with that tower fall one, so we got onto that one, and so I do, but I don't have a fear of heights. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like it depends on the situation. So, like for instance, there's a massive Ferris wheel in Las Vegas. I was surprisingly completely okay with that one. Like I actually could look down and everything, not a problem at all. Other times, like, I've sometimes been nervous. Now, interesting enough, on Soarin', I didn't have that fear of the heights. I was cool with that. But it was the sense of movement, because, like, they make you feel like you're moving. And I was like, I had nothing to hold on to. I was just in a seat with the harness.
Don't they have the handles on the
Well, it kind of, but it was still, like, messing with me. But what helped was that I was able to look to my left, because where they put me, I was able to look to my left, and I saw the wall. And seeing that wall was able to actually, like, help reorient me. And so I was like, if I ever had a moment where I was like, oh, it's getting to be too much, just look left. Okay, we're good. And then look back, and then I could enjoy it again.
You could fly.
Exactly. Yeah. So, since Danny brought it up about, like, another fear that we have, one that I have, it's not so much of a fear as it's kind of like an unnerving, if you will, is something called submechanophobia. It's basically, they call it as man-made objects underwater. Yeah.
Okay.
But in particular, and usually what gets people are the ones that are like creatures, sharks, and things like that under the water. And there's these series on YouTube and like some videos where they will go in depth about like, top 10, top 20 submechanophobias, and they will, there you go. Yeah. And Joe was just showing, like some, videos of, they pulled up there on Google. But like, for instance, ones that like I find unnerving are like, ones that I wish that I could have seen, experienced was the Jaws ride. So, you have the mechanical shark coming out of the water. And even though I have that kind of like unnerving feeling about it, I wish I could have experienced that before they closed that ride, because, that would have been like so freaking cool, but yeah, I watched those videos, and I think it's kind of helped with that little bit of like that kind of like a feeling in the back of your head, but I still do have that. So
I mean, you can also kind of tie that a little bit to aquaphobia, like especially like if you're like, say like you're snorkeling or you're scuba diving in like in the ocean. If you see like the coral reef and like the bottom of the ocean floor, that's still kind of cool. Like, oh, it's down there, but you can still see it. I don't know if I would ever experience it, because I can't say I have, but just like imagine that thing, like you go down under the water and you can't see the bottom. It's just a dark, deep blue pit that you can move in. Like imagine like you see like the deep. There's this video I saw recently on my feed. It's like the deepest pool in the world, and you can see like it's designed where you see like these like rubbled buildings and whatnot underneath the water. It looks so cool, but the fact is like, oh, this is the deepest pool in the world. Like, How deep is that? I didn't watch long enough to see the actual depth of it, but that camera shot of going underwater and seeing the decrepit buildings underneath as part of the design, it'd be so cool to both experience, but also probably be slightly terrifying. I can't see the bottom.
You know what? That actually relates to one of our favorite YouTubers we watch is Markiplier, and his fear is the ocean and the unknown of the ocean. Just the idea that you're in a giant pool with thousands of feet below you and not knowing what the fuck is down there, and I totally get that fear.
So the funny thing is, I mean, when my family and we lived in LA, usually from 95 to 2000, yeah, we usually go to Redondo Beach, Manhattan, and I never had that fear of it. It was just like, okay, there's the ocean, let's just go. It's the beach. Let's all have fun and everything.
Well, I would say the beach is different than just you're in the
No,
open
but you're
ocean.
in. No, but I mean, there are moments where I actually got lifted up. I was just like, okay, I'm in it. I never had that fear of Jaws until watching the movies. I mean, if you watch that movie before you go to the beach, you're fucked. So, but I do remember going with my cousins, Ben, Stephanie, and Rachel. Big shout out over there. We would always boogie boarding and everything. And all it is just it's the waves picking you up and the goddamn seaweed, and then you're just being picked up and lifted off, and it's just being free. So what was funny is I have to say there was this one trip that we were coming back from. You weren't there, Charles, but we went to Redondo Beach, and we came back from the 2016 Ghostbusters premiere. And so what happened was that none of the friends that were there and present would not want to get in the water. And I was just like, look, I'm not diving into the water. It's just I'm just rolling up my, my jeans and all that. And I'm just going to let the water, feel the ocean, just on my, legs and all that. And so it's just, come on, guys, let your feet breathe and all that. I could just tell, after Jaws, for anyone just, on land, staying, they did not want to get in the water at all. And it was holy shit.
That movie ruined a generation of beachgoers.
Yeah, it definitely did. But, I mean, there was one instance at Manhattan Beach or Santa Monica Pier, I think it was Manhattan, where they actually had the lifeguards. They shouted. There was this truck rolling by, and they're like, everybody get off, everybody get off, everybody get off. And then you kind of look, and it's what's going on? And then everyone's has their binoculars, some of them, and then they all point. Lucky enough, there was actually a shark, a tiger shark, and it was pretty damn big too. It was not a great white, but it was just kind of, just swimming through. You could just see it, and then all of a sudden, it goes back into the ocean, and then.
Sharks are always creepy to see. Jaws has perpetuated a fear of the ocean and of sharks. And granted, scientifically speaking, shark attacks happen, but it's in the
Unlikely.
Yeah, it's very low numbers. But even still, you see a shark, you're no. But even still, tiger sharks, bull sharks, and great whites, they can get huge. They can get anywhere in between 10 to 20 feet. And just touching them, their skin has been described as sandpaper. So even if you brush up against them, you can scratch up your skin. But even still, those dead eyes that if you catch those glimpses in person, just. Ooh, there's nothing behind those eyes.
If anyone's seen that Eli Roth documentary about the killing of sharks and all that, even some would they would blame Jaws, and I can't believe how much actually, shark soup is. But I will say this, look, I don't condone violence by any means necessary, so whenever I see sharks that are now in the endangered species list, that's
Yeah.
Look, thank you for terrifying us for the movies, but I will say sharks are a part of the ecosystem.
Fish are friends. No
Fish
free.
are friends.
Yeah, and on a topic of the water and creatures in the water and stuff like that, I remember when several years back I went to Florida. And I was at Crystal River, and
Crystal Lake, you mean?
No, Crystal River, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was just too coincidental.
That's the name of it, Crystal River. And there's lots of kayaking and paddle boarding and stuff like that. you could go out with and paddleboard or kayak or whatever, and there was also the manatees there. And that was so cool to see, and especially whenever the manatees, you had to make sure that, you weren't interfering with the manatees. The manatees could come up and check you out. You couldn't, So you just kind of sat there, just waited and let them, check it out. And it was so cool. I remember I was in a kayak, like a little personal kayak, and one manatee came up and was snorting, checking out the front end of my kayak there, and I was like, oh, this is so freaking cool, but then there was another river kayaking experience, and the water was super clear, and this time I had gotten convinced to try out paddleboarding, which that you have to have a lot of balance and core strength to get that. Once you get it going, it's fun, but there were a couple times where I did fall in the water. It was cool because, water was super clear. You could see straight to the bottom. It wasn't super deep. What sucked, though, was the seaweed. And so I was fell in the water. I'm like, oh, darn it, back in there. I'm doing fine, trying to get back onto the paddleboard. You got this big thing, and then all of a sudden you feel the seaweed on your feet. And you're just like, and it's but yeah, it was one of those things where it's that's more of a positive one. But I do get it though, because in some of the rivers you could not see down past a certain point, and you're just all right, okay, well, I'm going, paddling away. It was a lot of fun though. I enjoyed it. I would definitely do it again.
And in some of those rivers, you got snakes that just slither along the waters.
I've seen those documentaries of anacondas, cottonmouths, and snakes just swimming across the river. Just thankfully there's not rivers like many rivers here in Arizona to just do kayaking and besides the Salt River Lake kind of.
We're going to Salt River.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are.
No,
we're going to Salt River. Damn it.
We're throwing all the snakes at Danny.
Oh, look at all this toy snakes.
I will say right now, I will just get a fake one, just so I can wrap it around my neck and be like, Danny, it's coming! Oh God! Just see his reaction.
Danny's gonna be like, I'm tired of all these monkey fighting snakes
on this Monday Friday trip.
Just say it, motherfucker.
Thank you.
No, it's just it's for those who've watched the edited version of Snakes on the Plane, that phrase has become infamous. How badly dubbed and how stupidly they had to try and censor it. Monkey fighting snakes on this Monday Friday plane, or when they're trying to land this muddy fueling plane.
You want to see something horribly edited, dude? You have to watch Mallrats.
Oh,
I love Mallrats.
Mallrats, I mean, TV edited.
Oh, TV edited.
The guy who they dubbed for Jason Mewes is fucking awful.
I gotta find that now.
Go look it up on YouTube whenever you get the chance, and you're like, this. It's like Scarface, and you're like, the TV version just doesn't work. All right. Well, I think that about wraps up this episode of the Petty Cash Podcast. Just saying a thank you to my co-hosts, Vinny, Danny, and Joe. And thank you all very much for joining us on this episode. Be sure and like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun internet stuff. And remember, slow down, chew your food.